everybody, welcome back to MOSH Connect. My name is Ms. Chloe, and we have an activity today that is all about muscles. So our MOSH lab has been about muscles in general. We've been talking about skeletal muscles, smooth muscles, cardiac muscles, but this activity is going to focus on the smooth muscles, specifically the ones that help us digest stuff. Now for this activity, you're going to need a few materials, and I'll walk you through it, help you decide what it is that you're going to use. The first few are just kind of household things, so I'll show them to you one at a time. You're going to want a pair of scissors, pretty standard for most of our activities and our crafts, but you could probably get away without them if you don't have them. You'll want a plastic bag. Any size is good, could be the little tiny ones. I just grabbed a sandwich bag because that's what I had at home. You're gonna want a bowl of some sort, or it could be a tray, or it could be a plate. Basically, we have a chance of making a mess today. So you're gonna want something to catch any mess that might happen and just set it right down. You're also going to need some food supplies. So you'll need a little bit of water. Got some right here. You're gonna want a little bit of something else to drink, some other kind of liquid. I use orange juice because I think it's a good, helpful color. Any juice is a really great thing to use for this experiment. My favorite's orange juice because it smells really good. Other foods you're gonna want is some sort of squishy food. For me, I'm using a little piece of banana and some crackers. But if you don't have banana, or you don't have crackers, or you don't have either of these things, just get some sort of food that's gonna be squishy, that you can mush up really easily. You don't want something that's gonna be really hard, like dry pasta, or even a hard fruit like an apple. You want something that you could smush with your fingers, and not like the Hulk could smush it. Like you personally could smush it up, because that's gonna be really important for what we're doing. Now, the last few materials are a little strange, so it might take some creativity for thinking of what to use. The first one you're gonna want is you're gonna need old socks. Just one is good, a long one about this length. You want it to be a really thin sock, okay? So you can see mine is pretty thin, it's like almost see-through. So you want a thin sock or tights. Old tights are good for this. If you have pantyhose at home, those are awesome. So maybe check and see if someone in your family has old tights or old pantyhose that you can use. Or if you look in your kitchen, maybe you have cheesecloth or something similar. You just want some really thin fabric that we could squish some stuff through potentially. Now the other thing that would be great to have would be a paper towel tube. I didn't actually have a paper towel tube, so I made my own. This is just an old paper bag. I cut it and then I rolled it into a, sort of tube shape, and then just kind of attached it at the ends so that it would work for our purposes. So either a long tube like this, or make it yourself. Last thing you're gonna want is you're gonna need a plastic or paper cup, and you're gonna wanna cut a hole in the bottom of it. I used a plastic cup and it was really difficult to cut the hole, so you might need a grown-up's help if you have a hard plastic cup like I did. If you have a paper cup, you might have an easier time. Again, it doesn't matter the size, just needs to be something you can cut a little hole out of. Now the reason that we've gathered all these strange things is we are gonna make a model of our digestive system so we can talk about the muscles that we use to digest. Now, digestion is really fun to me because it's one of these body processes that starts really early. Like, you might think that you start digesting food when it's actually gone inside your body, but your process starts off even before you pick up the fork or the spoon. Because when you smell something yummy or you think about eating something tasty, you sometimes notice your mouth waters a little bit. Your mouth starts to fill up with saliva, which we can also call spit if you want to be a little gross about it. But that spit or saliva is going to help our food move through the digestive process. So for your spit today, please keep your own spit in your mouth. That's where our little bit of water is going to come into play. And we are going to digest some food through a fake body so we can learn about those steps. So our food that we're going to work on is that banana and these crackers. Now, normally we would eat them, right? You can just, eat a piece, and you would chew it up. So this is the point in digestion where we're using those skeletal muscles. So you're choosing to chew your food, move your jaw up and down, and then you choose to swallow it, and your food will make its journey to the stomach. In that journey, it's gonna switch from the skeletal muscles, so the muscles that you're choosing to move, to the smooth muscles, which are moving on their own. You don't have to do anything about it. The smooth muscles are actually really important because they take your food from your mouth, where you're chewing it up and making it easy to digest, to your stomach, through basically a long tube that's called your esophagus. Now, your esophagus has muscles around the outside of it, the smooth muscles, that help move the food through it. This is important because if you were to go upside down and you ate something and you swallowed it, that food would still end up in your stomach even though you're upside down, because those smooth muscles are moving it through that tube, moving it through that esophagus until it ends up in your stomach. Now, your stomach is obviously not shaped like this. We're kind of making adjustments. Your stomach's more shaped like a J, if you want to think of it that way. But for us, a nice little rectangle stomach will do just fine. We're going to add in the food that we want to eat. We're going to add in the saliva that we already started with. And we're going to add one more thing, because your stomach, it's got some other things going on. You have stomach acid that helps break down this food. And I'm going to go ahead and seal up our stomach bag. Get the air out too. Now, when you eat food, you probably think about doing things like cutting up your food, moving your fork to your mouth, chewing, swallowing, but you don't have to sit there and think, okay, stomach, like squish up the food now. It does it on its own. We've got muscles outside and inside of our stomach that basically smash the food up for us so that it can move on in the digestion process. So let's go ahead and smash this food. Now, if you're like me, this might feel really gross, and I definitely think it's gross. Don't worry, we're gonna get grosser. So we're gonna keep going with this. Go ahead and smush and smush and smush until it kind of looks soupy, and it looks like you can't really tell what it was anymore. When your food gets to your stomach and it gets mashed up like this and it turns into this weird stuff, it doesn't feel right to call it food anymore. You can't exactly tell what it is. And when we're talking about the digestive process, we call the stuff that reaches this point chyme. So it's our way of talking about food that no longer looks like bananas and crackers. It just kind of looks like gross stuff. We can call it chyme. Now, mine is really, really liquidy. I probably put a little more water or saliva in there than I should have. So I'm gonna add one more cracker. You might choose to do the same thing if yours looks a little funky, because we want to make sure that it's not going to make too big of a mess. So I'm adding my one extra cracker. I'm going to get the air out again, because you don't want to pop your bag. And I'm going to smush it up just so that this is going to work a little bit better. So if you're keeping track, I used one little piece of banana about 1 inch long and 3 crackers. You can use whatever foods you like as long as they are smushable. So you might wonder what happens now. So we've got our food, went to the stomach, it needs to travel through the intestines. Now the first one it's gonna go through is your small intestine. So that's gonna be your sock or tights or pantyhose or cheesecloth or whatever it is that you found in your house that worked really well for this. You're gonna take the first part. You're gonna wanna make sure that there's a hole on the other end. I cut a little tiny hole out of my sock. If yours is an old piece of fabric, it might have a hole already. Just work with what you've got. And then we need to get our chyme in there in a nice and orderly fashion. So what I like to do so that I don't make a big mess, I like to cut a little corner off my bag. And we're gonna really slowly move it through our small intestine. Now, it might take a couple tries. This is why we're gonna do this over the bowl so that you don't make a big mess. And I'm sure that your grown-ups at home would appreciate that too. It means a lot less cleaning that you're gonna have to do later. So I'm just adding the food from the stomach into my little intestine that I made. And it is really yucky, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so here we go. Now that we've done that, we can go ahead and start moving our food through this little intestine that I made. Now, the act of moving the food through and squishing it through is called peristalsis. It's those muscles that are on the outside that push it along. And as it pushes along, you'll see there's stuff dripping out and dripping into my little mess bowl over here. Now, this makes sense because in your small intestine, your body is going to take the nutrients out of the food that you ate. So it's going to take that chyme, it's going to push it through, and all the good stuff, all those good nutrients, they're going to come out and be able to be moved to the other parts of your body during this process. And again, this is smooth muscle, okay? So you don't have to think about it. Your body's going to do it automatically. Now, this is a short journey for me. You can see that my sock isn't very long. Whatever materials you found at home probably aren't very long either. And we get down to the end and really squish out some more stuff. But in a person, in a regular grown-up, your small intestines are going to be about 22 feet long. To help you imagine that, a grown-up is usually between 5 and 6 feet long. So imagine 4 grown-ups laid down head to toe, and that's about how long small intestines would be. Now, of course, they're not stretched that long in us, right? They're kind of folded up like this maybe, so that there's room in our body. And then they connect to your large intestine. Now, the large intestine is called the large intestine because it's like bigger around, so it's a little thicker, but it's not as long. It's not 22 feet long like our small intestine was. It's more closer to 6 to 8 feet long. So I'm going to squish our little bit of chyme that's still in here and keep squishing it through. And we're going to end up with it moving into our large intestine. Now, this might be tricky. You might have to rescue your food if it got stuck along the way like mine did. But go ahead and get yours connected and push it in to your small intestine. Now, this part might be tricky, but you need to squeeze your food from the small intestine into your large intestine that you made out of paper, out of cardboard, whatever it is that you used, and then start squeezing it along, just like we did before. So as you squeeze, you might notice that your paper, your cardboard starts to get a little soggy. It's hard to see on this side, but it looks really good on the other side, so I'm gonna flip it for you. This happens because in the large intestine, that's where the water gets absorbed. So the water is gonna get pulled out of that chyme, whatever got left behind from the small intestine, and it's gonna be pulled out before our food makes its final bit of the journey. So we need to eliminate this waste from our body. We need to get out the stuff that we didn't eat, and we need to put it into the colon. So once it's in the colon, we're going to be able to move it out to the next place. So here we go. I'm going to take my food, we're going to put it in to our little cup. Okay, so we've got our cup right here to simulate our colon. You can see my hands got really messy, which is a little gross, but that's part of the fun today. Now that it's in the colon, our skeletal muscles are gonna kick back in because you're gonna need to push it out. Remember, this is the cup that we cut a hole in the bottom of, and I'm gonna use the cup that I used earlier to hold my orange juice to help this exit our fake body. So here we go. Ew. So as we can see, digestion is a bit of a complicated process, maybe not the most fun process to look at, right? But hopefully now you understand a little bit more about how your muscles work with your digestion.
You've been hit by a smooth
muscle. MOSH Connect relies on support from our community. If you like what you just saw, please consider donating at www.themosh.org and give us a like on social media at MOSH Jacks so you can stay connected.